Good afternoon, Sarah here. How are you all doing? I've tried to make this video about 4 times, but my mother keeps interrupting me. She's on a mission today to be her most annoying self. And it kind of rather taps into what I wanted to talk about today, actually, because I had to come and sit out in my shed for a little while and try and do this video because she was just driving me insane. Anyway, she followed me out. So what I was going to talk about today was I've got some water leaks in the house and outside. Very annoying little drips, drip, drip, drip. One of them is at the back of the loo where the water comes from the cistern into the loo. So every time it flushes, it's this very occasional drip, so I've had to put something underneath it. The other is opposite corners of the shower. I've noticed a small amount of water after I've had a shower leaking out, and then the other one was an outside water butt that collects my rainwater. As I switched the tap on yesterday, it wouldn't switch off properly, and there's now dripping. And it's just got me thinking, oh goodness me, what on earth is all this about? The shower's a bit of a problem because I suspect there's pipes are leaking underneath, which means that the whole thing's going to come out. But nevertheless, it kind of got me thinking about, well, what is this water leaking indicating? You know, everything comes in threes, so it caught my attention really. And almost always water symbolizes emotion, intuition, and the subconscious. And if it's overflowing or leaking from somewhere, it can indicate a few different things. And I guess the one that came up for me first off was uncontained emotions, you know, unable to contain my feelings, which more and more I'm getting to that stage with Mum, because, you know, I'm with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't have any help. She does go into respite, or has been into respite once in July, and she's due to go in again this week. But it's full on bombardment, really, with all the issues, as I've said before, that go with dementia. And so I'm finding that my nerves are a little frayed, and I'm beginning to lose my temper with her. Well, I know it's not her fault, but it's like she's now gone into this sort of overdrive. Her moods change a lot, and she rants and raves. So that's one thing, is that sometimes I'm unable to contain my feelings. I'm unable to bite my tongue and walk away. I mean, I do mostly, but occasionally it bubbles over. The other thing that came up for me was a sense of emotional depletion. So I feel as if I have no energy and vitality, and I mentioned vitality the other day. Oh, and I think in relation to this, and I feel it's draining away. So the water is symbolic of that draining away of my vitality and all I consider to make me happy. What makes me happy is doing my work, really, whether it's painting or shamanic work, healing, whatever, or even this kind of thing. And also a need to release or cleanse. So the water's showing me that, you know, perhaps I need to let go of those feelings of emotion that perhaps I've been, you know, bottling up for too long, really. In Feng Shui, leaks are considered as energy drains. So you're losing chi or prana, and it's escaping. So that's an indication that perhaps I'm giving too much of myself away emotionally, mentally, without getting anything back again. So mum's not in a position to replenish that because of her dementia. So I'm constantly giving myself to her without actually getting anything back. And I guess it makes it, you know, I don't want to sound moany, but, you know, I'm here on my own. You know, my partner lives in a different country. And my friends live a good 20-minute drive away. So I do feel as if I'm kind of slightly isolated, and that I can't even express that sort of emotional overwhelm, if you like, with people. So, you know, the water is representing that, is draining away from me. You know, and leaks also represent the need to perhaps reinforce boundaries. And again, you know, maybe that's what I need to do more of, is to just remove myself from the situation instead of reacting, or, you know, sitting there and allowing mum to speak the way she does. And it's just to remove myself and bring myself out into the garden or into my hut here and just do some things. So I'm creating a barrier between us. And then, you know, as I'm sitting here with my medicine doll, I'm sewing away, and I'm just thinking, so what is each of those components indicating as well? So the shower, perhaps I'm not fully washing away old emotions. You know, again, it's the reinforcement of that, not allowing them to really get away. The leak on the loo, although it's not actually the loo itself, it's still related. The loo represents what's no longer needed. And again, perhaps I'm not allowing it to fully wash away. And the leak outside in the water butt perhaps indicates flowing outwards, giving away too much, in my case, to mum. That I'm not keeping anything back for myself. And it was a real kind of eye-opener, really. I mean, you know, I know what's going on, and I do try to think of the best way of working with this situation on a daily basis. But I really felt that these water issues kind of highlighted it, and it was kind of a nice way for me to illustrate to you guys how things like this work and how we can think about our situations from a different perspective, and how water is showing me that I need to really pull back a little bit, not give quite so much to mum, to set up some boundaries so that I'm feeling not so drained. And what I could do when the opportunity arises to fix all of this, and that's another problem in itself, is I can't have the bathroom torn apart while mum is here. So, you know, that's another issue. And I was feeling kind of anxious about that as well, thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get this fixed with mum here? And, you know, they're going to have to take the shower up, and I don't know what I'm going to find underneath the floor. So all that's causing kind of emotional anxiety, if you like. But by fixing the things, when I can eventually get around to fixing these problems, it means that I can reclaim my power. So by fixing it in a physical way, I am ceremoniously reclaiming my power and establishing boundaries and trying, you know, that will be the rebalance of the inner and outer flow. So I'm giving, and I'm also receiving by blocking off that leak. And I guess I could do that in a number of ways, but, you know, whilst they're being fixed, I can say to myself, or I can do, my own ceremony when it's all done, and just say something along the lines of, I'm restoring balance. My energy flows where I choose it to flow. And so I hope that kind of illustrates how shamanic healing works, is that we're working with all of the elements, and in this case, the water element. And water's, super powerful. It goes where it wants to go, even if you don't want it to go. So it has to be contained in a house situation. Otherwise, it just flows all over the place. And it's indicating to me in this instance where I need to pull back a little bit, establish some boundaries for myself, take more time maybe, I go to bed early anyway, but, maybe not jump up at the first time I hear Mum moving around in the night. I worry about her falling downstairs, so it's natural. But maybe I wait and hear if she's, just going to the loo, or she's, trying to go down to the stairs or down the stairs or whatever. And just establish some boundaries for myself in that way. I can't remember perhaps I'll look it up and put it in the description. There's a wonderful talk from an Indigenous woman who talks about the flow of water and how she dealt with it. And I think, I haven't listened to it for a very long time, but I think the story was that she moved into a house and the water board or something of the sort had diverted the river for some reason. Anyway, the water flow ended up in her house and completely flooding the house, and they couldn't find how to stop it or anything. And in the end, she went to her elders, and they said to her that you need to talk to the water. So she followed the elders' advice and did a ceremony and spoke to the water and said, I don't know why you're coming this way, but I pray that you can find another route to go down, because at this rate my house is going to be flooded and we can't seem to divert you ourselves. Please, can you find another way to flow? And the very next day, the level of water had gone down in her house, and in a couple of days it had disappeared completely. And what had happened was that the water had found another course to move along that was obviously more beneficial for the flow of that water. But, she believes very strongly that, as I do, that water has consciousness, and you can talk to it and ask it to please help you in a situation. And I feel that's what water's doing with me now. I don't know whether any of you know Veda Austin. She's doing some amazing work with water, where she fast freezes Petri dishes of water after she's either spoken to them or shown this Petri dish an image or something, or a thought, or and then when she takes the frozen water out of the freezer, it has either copied the image it was laid on top of, or the intention that was set. It somehow freezes in a pattern that resembles the intention or the thought pattern or the words. It's extraordinary work that she's been doing. And there's a Japanese man, his name I can't remember, who's been doing the same work as well. So, yeah. So those are my thoughts on the element of water and the power of water, and how I find that shamanic work really taps into this, all the elements that, we work with: water and fire and earth and air, and all the natural elements around us have all got something to say about how we live our lives. And it's just up to us to tap into that and be aware of messages that nature is bringing us. So have a lovely afternoon. I'm going to do a little bit more sewing, and then I shall go in and see what Mum's up to. Ciao for now.